Hey people, I'm going to try to make this a quick one. It'll help if you saw this last one. It was a quick one too, just about 8 minutes. But it doesn't matter. You can go back and watch it after if you missed it. I was reading a little bit here in Genesis 3 in the Greek and in the Hebrew, and showing some things that are plainly misinterpreted and some history that's been hidden. And so I was just reading here in this line 5, and I figured out what several of these words are. But I'm going to pull it off in this other Bible with all the markings, the directional markings. Just this line 5 is what I want to look at. It's a pretty long line. And I'll leave this polyglot in the back so you can see their misinterpretations. But I was showing, the word that they use for you should eat through this chapter is things like the faggot and the phagest. And when I looked up this word, they say the base word is this estio. And there's very few of the words, ate, consume, diet, dine. There's very few of them that start with this fag in front of them. And when I look at their forms, transliterations, they had to start with an edesta, a d, a odonta, odontis, the teeth. And there was just a couple of them down at the bottom that started the phagest, the faggy, phage, fago. And they didn't transliterate any of them. Nor did they the dontis that I notice in here now. Any of these that started with the ed they left out, the odonti. But you see, all the words in this category, they're all the esti. None of them start with the fag on them. And it gives me a better idea of what an esta is. An orthodontist, the ortho is to straighten, the dont is the teeth, and the est is the doctor, the physician. Like I said, the phronimotados is where your word cronies come from. Your cronies are your friends. And the motados is the liest, the friendliest. Not just the most skilled, but the friendliest creature in the garden. So I was showing how everything in both the Bibles was kind of pointing toward the ancient art of boofing, in which was taking medication anally, blowing smoke up your ass. And it's the first one on a hit. This word, your eyes will be open wide, will be open wide, your eyes. And so it's here, with no directional markings. And so it'll just read straight. But I want to hit this T first, so I don't forget that. The first thing you learn in medicine is A, B, C, T. ABCs, your airway, breathing, circulation, and then time. When you put a tourniquet on, you write the time. Everything, you mark the time of everything. So when it passes out to the next doctor, he doesn't know how long this condition's been going on. You got to write the time down, and you mark it with a T. And I believe that's what that T there means, is time. But this word for will be open wide, your eyes. It's dia, it's through, and then notch, N-O-I-X, and then this on tie, this on to make. And so, T-H-E-S, T-H-E-S-O-N-T-O-I, T-A-I, this on to make. And so die is through, and no, N-O-I-X, noach. It's coming from the French, and it, like I said, the French were all in Greece, but it means nuts, or an imbecile, or the veal nut, the rear part of the thigh. If you've seen that last movie, the boof would only come up 3 different ways, and one of them was Chinese, saying the rear. It was saying it was the part of the fruit, and I was telling you it means the rear, refers to other edible nut fruits, or an imbecile. So they were using nuts for the same ways we use it here in English They use it in France, an imbecile, he's nuts. The Noix, nuts. This nuts, N-U-X, is what this is, the T-S. The X is the Tzadis, the T-Z, the T-S. And it means the plant. It used to be drawn as an ancient plant, and they just don't put it anywhere in here. That's the main thing they're trying to hide. But in the ancient Phoenician, all the old languages, the X meant a plant, and it was drawn as a plant. And the N is a seed, and the U is the Vav, is connected to. And that's why I say just to a lot of times. And so the seed to plant is a nut. Them squirrels, sometimes they'll crawl up my tree and they'll bring them pecans down and bury them out in the yard, and a pecan tree will come out of that nut. And so it's the same thing in this language. They're seeing it a little different, but it makes me think that this X that they say is the CH, it still means plant. And the seed, and I say the OI is how. The seed, how, plant, or who, with the mark above it. When it's got the mark above it, I say it's how. And with the OI, I say it's who. And so it's through the seed, who, plant, through the nuts. And so on the day that you should eat of it, through the nuts this on to make, it will make you nuts. Will be open wide. And so in the DMTologist world, this well-known thing, the walnut, the black walnut, the walnut shells rich, the walnut hull, walnut husk. So if you're new here, there's 5 different directional marks in this one line. That's why I start here. It's easier here. It's difficult. But you see 3 of them here. 1, 2, 3. And then 4. It turns the other way. And then 5. This one, it's this way out. But yeah, it will be open, through the nuts, this on tie. And then you have directional marks here. And so this is Vav. It means connected. It's 2. And 2 MO. And this wave, when you're reading the direction that this tail's pointing, it tells you to grab this letter behind and read it in front. If this was turned the other way, you would only do this when you're reading this direction. You would grab the letter and read it twice. But anytime you see this mark, that's what it means. Is this mark tells you to read on through, and when it's turned around the other way like this, it's telling you to read backwards first. And so through the nuts, this on tie, to M-O-M, bring the M after, M-O-M, to mom namu, N-O-M-U. And so this is where your word phenomena come from, and it's to mom namu. Mom namu is the most ancient mother of all gods. O Sumerian goddess Namu, the primeval sea, mother of the gods and of the heaven and earth, mother of all is what it means. The old Sumerian Nama, Namu, just 2 letters, Namu. And she was the mother who gave birth to the heavens and the earth. And then she was the goddess who has given birth to the great gods. Enki was their god of creation, but she was the mother of Enki. And his father was on the sky. And so through the nuts, this on tie, to Mama Namu, phenomenon, to the mother of all gods, is what your eyes will be open to, the mother of all gods. And this OI, I've been reading it, line above is 2 eyes. I've been reading it who and how with the mark above. And it actually means to feel. And this is the O, the I, and then the yod, hand, the eye, hand work, the eye, the hand make. And it's talking about the eye of Ra here. And this is the hand here. and it means to touch or to feel. And so it's, the mother of all gods, to feel. And then Yom, Y-O-M, the day. Yom, it means a period of light, or the day of, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And so I'm reading this backwards and forwards due to this mark here. I'm reading it backwards first. And so what it says is the day Latifa Fatal May. Yom Latifa Fatal May. The day of Latifa Fatal. Latifa is a gentle or pleasant. And fatal, that's where your word femme fatale comes from. The fatal woman. A fatality, a death. And so this is the word, you will surely die. This is where it belongs. This is the fatal. And it's a latifa. It's a calm death. I've simulated death with DMT before, and that's what it is. It's a latifa fatal. The day of Latifa Fatal May. And then the key just replaces the vav. It's a V, a W, or a U, or an and. And so it's we, and the mark is telling you to read this backwards again. So it's W-E. And we tesses, T-E-S-E-S. Tesses is your Greek word for the harvester, to reap, the reaper. And so to the tesses, to the harvester, this is Theo, T-H-E-O, Theo, the God, and then S-O, to sow, to plant, to plant the O's, the God to plant the O's, the God of the gods, and then Yod, to make, the O's, sow, the O, make, the God the gods made. I tell you, all these tree of life, they had some differences from the older ones. And so this would appear to be right if you just put the feminine head over here. The tessis is the harvester, the reaper. Here they got wisdom is number 2. These are this is if you are on the back side looking out. That's the way this is pictured. So it looks like they're all backwards. Actually, it's just these two are backwards. But it seems they got this confused. Bina is binary, is 2. And so they got some information confused in these. And then this word knowing, you can see it's the genius countess, the countess, the feminine, the countess, the genius countess. And then a little poetry here, the call on upon, U-P-O-N, here on, E-H-R, to call on upon her on, calling upon her on. And then this on the top, this is just going to ruin all our history that we've been taught. But it's got 2 directional marks here. And so this one on the top says start at the other end. So it's Jed, J-E-D, and then H, and D-E-I. And this mark underneath said come grab this H at the end. And so it's Jedediah. Jedediah is the Hebrew name for Solomon. And Jedediah, and then eager. Jedediah eager of the O sought it, of in. The O's, the gods, sought, S-O-T, looking for, sought it, I-T, S-O-T-I-T, and then O. And then N-E replaces the B or the V. It's the O-V-N. And Jedediah, eager the gods, sought it of in. Then this one's got 3 directional markings. The first one is telling you is reading left to right. And so you're going to grab this N after. It's going to read H-N. This wave on top tells you grab this N. So it's H-N. And then from the other direction, H-N. And then A-N. And so it's hennin on. And hennin means and hence. Here from, therefore, hence. And so Jedediah eager of the gods sought it to win. And hence on, therefore on, come the Ra, come the day, come the sun, Rama, to see in a fagest. And so fagest is not to eat. And you can see that they cut that word short here. It's just a faggot here. But it's, and come the day, the fagest, up his butt. And then the line says, read this P-A-P. And this mark tells you to grab the A-U, up to wherever the next apostrophe's at. And so that's papaya. You're reading it P-A-P-A-U, and then you're starting this word again, A, the papaya, before you go to the other end. And so the papaya, and then the U with the line over it tells you to grab the last letter, so it's a V-A-O-T. The papaya vot, what of. The papaya, also called the pawpaw, if you wanted to read it that way, the P-A-P-A-W, pawpaw. And this papaya or pawpaw, it comes from South America. And the lower trunk is conspicuously scarred where the leaves and fruit were born. And Calgary-based MedPlant Science Limited has just been granted license to research and develop psychedelics, namely DMT, from turmeric, aloe vera, and papaya, the pawpaw. And then this mark, tells you after you read it, the P-A-P-A-U-A or A-Y-A, papaya or pawpaw, same word. The U is the V, the U, and the W. Well, I try to confuse us, the Greeks give it the Y, sometimes the Y anyway. And then it tells you read from the other end, so it's the V-A-O-T. The tail's still pointing this way till you grab the last letter. The V-A-O-T and then U-T. So the V-A-O-T, the vowel finish, I mean a furrow, where you cut a row for planting and you furrow a cleft. Plural of a vaco. That's where your word vacancy come from. Having to do with a drill or a cove, when something's coved out. Or a vaginal opening, a furrow. It's coming from this base veo, from the Latin, and having to do with empty. It's an empty spot, a hole, empty, a gap, a vacant spot, a hole. Fagest, a papaya, the vot in the furrow in the hole, what of. And so the whole what of fagest is your butt. And so Jedediah Eager of the O, the God, the I, T-H-E, and the O is the I and means to see, the I. The I sought in, the sought it of in. Hanan, thenceforth, therefore, hence, on, come the Ra, on come the sun, Rama, to see in a fagest, up his butt, a papaya, and the vot in the crevice, what of. Through nuts this on to make. To mom of all gods, to the mother Noma, to the mother of all gods, to feel the day Latifa Fatal, the gentle death may, and the Tessa, and the harvest, this is the Theos, so the Theo make, the God so the God make, the genius countess to call on upon her on.
Don't forget, hooty hoot, I won't forget.
Alright, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.